Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are tackling a deeply serious and complex topic, the ongoing human rights crisis in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region of China. For years, reports have been emerging about the situation facing the Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslim minorities. So, what is actually happening? Let's break down what we know based on reports from the United Nations, human rights organizations, and governments. It all starts with what are officially called vocational education and training centers by the Chinese government. However, extensive evidence from organizations like the UN and Human Rights Watch, along with survivor testimonies, paints a very different picture. These are widely described as mass internment camps. Since 2017, it's estimated that over 1 million Uyghurs, Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, and other Muslim minorities have been arbitrarily detained in these facilities. The Chinese government claims these centers are for combating extremism and poverty, but international bodies have found that the detentions are discriminatory and not based on individual criminal behavior, but rather on ethnic and religious identity. Inside these camps, the allegations are horrifying. A landmark 2022 report from the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, or OHCHR, found credible allegations of torture and ill treatment. This includes forced medical procedures and even reports of sexual and gender-based violence. The UN's assessment was stark. The extent of this arbitrary detention may constitute international crimes, in particular crimes against humanity. This wasn't just a statement from an NGO. This was the United Nations, lending significant weight to the gravity of the situation. Families of those detained live in a state of constant uncertainty. One relative told Amnesty International, "This silence isn't just painful, it has a physical and mental cost. Living in this uncertainty is a form of torture. Beyond the camps, there's a systematic effort to erode Uyghur culture and identity. This is often referred to as a policy of sinicization or assimilation into the dominant Han Chinese culture." The UN report documented severe restrictions on religious practices, the use of the Uyghur language, and freedom of expression. Mosques and other religious sites have been destroyed. Even personal choices like what to name a child are being controlled. This has led many observers to use terms like cultural genocide. The U.S. State Department has gone even further, officially stating in its 2024 Human Rights Report that genocide and crimes against humanity have occurred in Xinjiang. It's another deeply concerning aspect is the issue of forced labor. There is substantial evidence linking the detention system to forced labor schemes, particularly in industries like cotton and solar panel production, which are major exports from the Xinjiang region. The U.S. government, through the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, has taken a strong stance, presuming that goods from Xinjiang are made with forced labor unless proven otherwise. The UN has also highlighted indicators of forced labor and recommended that China cooperate with the International Labor Organization to address these concerns. Reports from U.S. intelligence have even documented how government and commercial entities are benefiting from these coercive labor practices. 2 years after the UN's bombshell report, what has changed? According to Human Rights Watch's 2024 report, not much. While some of the large visible re-education camps may appear to have been closed, the repression has simply adapted. HRW estimates that around 500,000 Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims remain imprisoned, and there have been no mass releases. The legal and policy framework that enabled these abuses remains in place. In fact, in August 2023, President Xi Jinping visited Xinjiang and doubled down on the government's policies just before the one-year anniversary of the UN report. The message was clear. There would be no change, of course. The repression also targets intellectuals and community leaders. In a chilling example, the prominent Uyghur anthropologist Dr. Rahul Dot was sentenced to life in prison in September 2023 on vague state security charges. This is seen as part of a systematic campaign to silence the voices that preserve and study Uyghur culture. Even tourism is being weaponized. Human Rights Watch notes that the state promotes a sanitized version of Uyghur culture for tourists. While the authentic culture is being systematically dismantled behind the scenes, the crisis isn't confined within China's borders. It's a transnational issue. The U.S. government has accused China of engaging in transnational repression, targeting Uyghurs who live abroad. Many Uyghurs overseas live in fear, having lost all contact with their families back in Xinjiang since 2018. They do not know if their loved ones are alive, in a camp, or in prison. This fear was tragically realized in February 2025, when Amnesty International reported that Thailand had forcibly deported about 40 Uyghur asylum seekers back to China. This action violates a key principle of international law called non-refoulement, which forbids sending people back to a country where they are at risk of serious human rights violations. Experts had warned of the grave danger these individuals would face upon return. So where does this leave us? The evidence compiled by the UN, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and various governments is overwhelming. It points to a systematic state-run campaign of mass arbitrary detention, torture, forced labor, and cultural erasure against the Uigures and other Turkic Muslim minorities. The UN's conclusion that these actions may amount to crimes against humanity is a severe indictment. Yet 3 years on from that report, human rights groups say there has been a shocking lack of meaningful action from the international community to hold the Chinese government accountable. Amnesty International continues to call for an independent international mechanism to investigate these crimes and ensure that victims and their families receive justice and reparations. The stories of families torn apart, of culture under siege, and of a people living in fear are a stark reminder of what's at stake. While the Uyghur crisis is one of the most severe human rights situations in the world today, it's important to remember that other groups in China, like Tibetans, also face long-standing repression. However, the scale and intensity of the campaign in Xinjiang have drawn significant and urgent global attention. It's a situation that requires our continued focus and a robust response from the international community. If this topic has moved you, please consider learning more from the organizations we've mentioned, like the UN, Human Rights Watch, and Amnesty International. Spreading awareness is a crucial first step. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to help keep the conversation going.